Shalom, greetings from Congregation Beth Evergreen. I'm Rabbi Jamie.
Ora.
And we're here to offer a video on how to prepare your table for a Seder, for a Passover Seder. So this will include a review of the Seder Plate and also talking about the different elements and ways to sort of practically be all set for your Seder. So, the first element, of course, is the Seder Plate. The Seder Plate tells you what goes on it. Most of them do. So there's usually 6 compartments, parsley, a hard-boiled egg with a little edge that's put over a burner, sort of broiled. Some romaine lettuce goes on the Seder Plate. A shank bone, or in this case, a clay image of a shank bone. Or you could use a beet, which is done on a vegetarian Seder, for instance, which you would prepare just by cutting a section and burning a piece on an open flame for a short time. Then we have a little imitation of charoset, which traditionally would be cut up into little pieces of apple or other fruits with wine and nuts like almonds and cashews, etc. Almonds, nuts, and fruits from a tree. And lastly, the maror, the bitter herbs made out of horseradish, typically. So we have the Eastern European and the Mediterranean tradition of bitter herbs in romaine lettuce and the horseradish. The parsley, did I say the parsley? The parsley is a symbol of new life and spring, and this parsley was planted by our members, the little young ones in our religious school on Tu B'Shvat, on the birthday for the trees. So the function of the Seder Plate on the Seder table. You don't eat off it. You don't need to worry about lots of people touching it and spreading germs. But you do need the Seder Plate to be interesting enough to generate questions and conversation. The purpose of it is to stimulate curiosity. So putting things that you might not have seen on a Seder Plate there before on a Seder Plate is totally within the spirit of cultivating that curiosity and the dialogue between generations. So you might put an orange on it, or a silly puppet, or a frog, or some way of prompting a kid's curiosity. So the Seder Plate is the first and centerpiece of most Seder tables. What else might you find or might you need for a Seder Plate, for a Seder table, for Passover? So you might need some candles. So you'll see here we have a set of holiday or Shabbat candles. Usually they're in pairs, and also a candle, a memorial candle or a Yizkor candle lit in memory of those who have passed away recently. So this year in particular, it might be particularly appropriate to light a Yizkor candle with your, when you light candles for Passover. Maybe we'll end the video this time with a blessing for the candles. So in addition to candles, you need something to wash with. There'll be 2 washings during the Seder traditionally. So this is a washing cup. You can also use a pitcher and a bucket or a large bowl and pour the water down over people's hands with a towel going around the table is a nice way to expiate. And you can also use a hand sanitizer. So, washing. So, speaking of cups, we have 4 cups. You will need cups for wine or juice, 1 for each party. And over the course of the meal, of course, you'll have 4 cups of juice or wine. And so bring plenty of grape juice or wine or sparkling wine or juice. Other cups you might want to have at your Seder table is a cup for some special guests, some invisible or unseen guests perhaps, symbols of hope. So the 2 prophets that we turn to during Passover traditionally are Elijah, Eliyahu Hanavi. Elijah the prophet is said to herald in a time of peace and health and prosperity among the nations. So we typically set up a full cup, a 5th cup of wine for Elijah, and a cup of water for the prophetess Miriam, who led the Israelites in celebration and singing and dancing, and helped them find water in the wilderness as they journeyed through the desert between slavery in Egypt and the Promised Land in Israel. You also need on your Seder Plate, of course, matzah, the unleavened bread or flat bread that is traditionally part of Passover celebration for a full 7 or 8 full days outside the land of Israel. So traditionally you have one plate with 3 matzahs and a matzah cover. A matzah cover can be anything, a napkin, but it would be fun to make a creative ritual item. Here's our tie-dye matzah cover, homemade, that we're displaying. And the matzah is covered until the part of the Seder when the matzah is brought out. So, lastly, as a recognition of the new beauty and renewal of spring, it is traditional to maybe have flowers or ornaments or decorations to represent the new life of spring that is coming at this time of year. Especially at this time under the threat of COVID-19, the novel coronavirus, to have physical and sensual, right, the smell of flowers to remind us of the beauty and health and new life, renewal of life that's happening constantly. So those are the primary elements at your Seder plate and your Seder table. And let's close with a blessing for the candles for the holiday. Ora will light them. And the blessing that we'll chant is words that might be familiar with you. They're almost the same as the Shabbat blessing for candles. We're just going to use the word Yom Tov at the end instead of Shabbat, holiday. And we're going to use a melody special for the Shalosh Regalim, the 3 pilgrimage festivals. Baruch, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Yom Tov. May you have a delightful and beautiful ornamented Seder table this year for Passover, and Chag Sameach.